Hello, welcome in daily newspaper editorials IDO program. Now headline: Health warning: air pollution kills us. The Economic Time. India needs an environmental health regulatory agency. The Hindu. Is social media doing more harm than good to democracy? Now headline in detail: Health warning: air pollution kills us. The Economic Time. Tamaku causes painful death, reads a cigarette pack warning. A neighbor warning: Tamaku users die younger. We could apply similar statutory warnings to air. A new Indian Council of Medical Research (ICMR) study attributes 1.7 million deaths in 2019 to air pollution with COPD, a chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, as the leading cause, 32.5%, followed by ischemic heart disease at 29%, to stroke 16.2%, and lower respiratory infection 11.2%. Delhi NCR's notorious air quality may grave headline, but air pollution, whether people are willing to believe it or not, is a national crisis. Climate change is not helping. A 2024 Nature study reveals how climate change alters atmospheric circulation and precipitation, worsening air quality over the Indo-Gangetic Plain (IGP). The ICMR report identifies usual suspects for the pollution load: industrial emissions, vehicular exhaust, road dust, construction activities, waste burning, fireworks, and solid fuel used for cooking. But all this seems very abstract and part of third world daily life for most of us. For many pulse pollution kills other people. For other people, it's just how it is. Perhaps India's breathers can be shaken out of their torpor and fatalism by underlining what the ICMR report underscores: our bodies are affected by filthy air, our lifespans are shortened, air pollution kills. Policymakers should need what WHO stated at COP29 in Baku: place health at the core of the climate agenda. Citizens should stop breathlessly comparing IQ levels and instead insist that, for the sake of their well-being, concern about dirty air enter the body. Politics and authorities and what seekers are forced to first address and then try and fix. India needs an environmental health regulatory agency. The Hindu. Having such an agency in India, which is currently lacks, would look at the interlinked issues of climate, environment, health, and the economic in a holistic way. Soumya Swaminathan, Kalpana Balakrishnan, and Vijay Shankar Balakrishnan. Dr. Soumya Swaminathan is chairperson, MS Swaminathan Research Foundation, Chennai, and principal advisor, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. Kalpana Balakrishnan in Dean Research, Sri Ramchandra Institute of Higher Education and Research, Chennai. Vijay Shankar Balakrishnan is a science journalist with over 12 years of experience covering the life sciences, the environment, and public health, and has worked for the World Health Organization. The 2024 Conference of Parties (COP29) ends in Baku, Azerbaijan today. As a global voice for developing countries, India will push for ambitious climate mitigation financing from developed nations. At the same time, pollution in our air, water, and land continue to pose grave health risks. According to the Emissions Gap Report 2024 from the United Nations Environmental Program, India has seen over 6% more greenhouse gas emissions than the previous year. These two examples show that India is at a critical juncture in its environmental and public health journey. As a nation, India continues to experience rapid economic growth, so the interdependencies between climate, environment, health, and the economy are individual, but capacities to address these issues holistically are limited. It is time for India to establish an environmental health regulator agency (EHRA), which could lead to more comprehensive and cohesive environmental governance that focus simultaneously on pollution control and health risk mitigation. The urgency of integration. There are profound and immediate environmental health challenges to address in India. Demonstrates epidemiological studies conducted across multiple states and rural and urban pollutions have converted the detrimental health effect to export to air, water, and soil pollutants, which include a wide range of non-commercial diseases. For example, exports to air pollution PM 2.5 in particular is now known to be associated with respiratory, cardiovascular, and metabolic diseases, pregnancy outcomes, child growth and development, and even mental health disorders. This poses a risk to the most vulnerable populations such as children, the elderly and financial poor groups. Building on efforts of the Central Pollution Control Board (CPCB) and the Minister of Environment Forest, the Climate Change MoEFCC, India's current environmental governance model needs to be more integrated with health. The CPCB focuses on pollution control while the MoCFCC handles broader environmental policies, and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare MOHFW undertakes integrate diseases surveillance and management. There is a disconnect between environment monitoring, health impact assessment, and emissions control given little to no data flow across these ministries. The EPS approach covers at a lot of ground. It regulates air, the water quality, manages waste, and controls toxic substance while relying on integrated science assessment that include health together with vigorous enforcement. Germany's UVA focuses on environmental policy, managing air, water, and waste regulation while championing sustainable energy and climate activities. Japanese MOE tackles pollution, chemical safety, and ecosystem protection. It collaborates with health and science agencies to monitor environmental health efforts, pollution controls, and address urban pollution and radiation issues. A data-driven, evidence-based framework. Effective regulation is built upon reliable and constant specific data. In this context, significant global funding in investment in environment death effects research to establish a robust evidence base for policies, even though organizations such as the Indian Council of Medical Research (ICMR) provide essential support for environmental health research. Their impact to somewhat limited without a central body to bring together and translate this data into practical policies. An EHRA would enable India to adopt an evidence-informed and science-driven regulatory framework commissioning studies specific to the nation's unique environmental health challenges such as power, air quality, vector-borne diseases, effect to persistent organic chemicals, and heavy metals exposures in the context of changing land use patterns and the consequence of climate change on health system. Integrating health impact assessment HIAS into our significant projects such as urban development and infra, infrastructure planning would allow decision makers to understand and mitigate health risk before they escalate. India's economic trajectory need to be at odds with environmental health and envisaged energy transition and public health campaigns around environmental health would encourage enterprise to transition to cleaner technology, and EHRA can develop policy instrument that will help the nation align environment health objective with the economic politics, which in turn would promote sustainable development or that benefits the environmental, public health, and the economic at the same time. India has signed the Paris Agreement and has committed to the Sustainable Development Goals, and EHRA would be instrumental in helping India meet these commitments by aligning national policies with global standards. It would also contribute to collective efforts to tackle climate and health challenges, including addressing transboundary issues, building accountability. Establishing an EHRA in India would not be without challenges, from bureaucratic interior to resistance from industry stakeholders. Very true regulation, however, clean frameworks for interministerial coordination, measurable objectives, and cross-sectoral cooperation would help overcome these barriers. An EHRA should be operationally independent, guided by scientific expertise, and empowered to enforce policies that prioritize public health. India's recent success in meeting renewable energy targets highlight the nation's capacity for ambitious systematic change, and EHRA could build on these achievements to strengthen India's governance of its environmental health crisis by framing pollution control as both a public health imperative and an economic opportunity. Is social media doing more harm than good to democracy? Alan Risbrigger and Pratik Sinha. Risbrigger is editor of Prospect magazine, former editor-in-chief of The Guardian, and a member of Meta's oversight board, which makes content and policy recommendations for Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. And Sinha is co-founder and editor of @News, a fact-checking website. In the UK, the Guardian newspaper announced earlier this month that it will no longer be posting on X, claiming that is its toxic media platform and that is honor. Elon Musk has been able to use its influence to shape political discourse. Its social media is a useful tool for or is it becoming a threat to democratic societies? And Alan Brusbrigida and Pratik Sinha discusses the question in a conversation moderated by Priscilla Jabraj, edited expert Alan Rasbigradar. It is a real dilemma because Twitter, now X, was for many years a really wonderful place for posting news, finding out news, and building relationships in normal circumstances. Who owns a media platform should not worry us too much. But Elon Musk has to dominate Twitter, the platform that the bought, and insisted that people follow him. That is difficult to ignore the question of ownership. Pratik Sinha should be buried. One should think of online spaces just the way we think of all offline spaces. Offline we try to cue toxic spaces, and some people have the privilege of being able to do so. When you are able to quit a toxic relationship, typically it is because you are financially independent. The Guardian is such a huge organization that even if it does not have traffic from X, it is okay for the newspaper. X is probably just a little more toxic than other platforms, so it is a privilege that one is able to quit a more toxic platform and focus on others. How important is social media is to disseminate content? Pratik Sinha, very important. Unfortunately, our primary source of information have become social media platforms, which are controlled by multi-billion dollar companies. We have to use this platform because how else do we reach out of people? And that also makes iron ships easy because the government government only has to have a relationship with these 2 or 3 platforms, and the kind of relationships that governments typically have with monopolies to ensure that the information that should reach citizens in concert. We are in tricky space because we have no free platform where information can reach citizens without many layers of filters. Are some platforms worse than others? Alan Rusbigreader. I think the problem is that there is a huge mismatch between the editorial standards and values at the best news organizations repressed and editorial standard of Mr. Musk. He has none. He has abandoned all the trust and safety teams. He does not believe in content moderation. He sees it as censorship. The attempts by regulatory and the advisors to try and clean up has been met with the most foul-mouthed rejection. We also hold contempt to the free press. He is constantly telling people that they should not believe anything on the agency media and that the only place you can find the truth nowadays is so it is connect to peculiarly moiship to keep appearing on his platform when he despises us. That is why people are thinking, well, let's go somewhere where we are valued and where facts and truth and journalism still count for something. What kind of checks should platform be putting in place to reduce such toxicity? Pratik Sinha, they need to invest money in people to moderate content. Where when riots had happened in Sri Lanka, Facebook did not have a single monitor in Sri Lanka. Where there were a few sitting on a office in Hyderabad when the Rohingya oxide happened. There was no monitor to in a local language. If you look at the number of monitors are per million of population in India would be one of the lowest in the world. In India, there are many language and nonsense. Dog whistling is different in every language. None of these platforms are able to that because they don't want to invest the money. What role do you think social media can play in building democracy? Pratik Sinha, we confuse a communication system with a communication system control. Why monopolize any communication system which works well is great for citizens and for democracy. It will be used by people to put their voice out. We know that the happening in Palestine because it is being broadcast. The number of people who died in the Iraq war was much higher than the number of people who have died in Palestine, but Iroquois happened when there was no social media, but when the same communication system is subsumed by the system committing the quoting, it is a problem. Pratik Sinha, we have to have media and information literally classes in schools where children learn how to look at different sources of information and process them. We need to think about discouraged large communication system. There will be challenges, but those are not insurmountable. Thank you.